Hello everyone and welcome to the New York Empoleon's first video in a long time. We are back finally doing some YouTube content. I know I've been doing a lot of Twitch stuff. I've been doing starting new servers and hosting tournaments and doing the PBAL all through Twitch and doing the APA and other stuff where I'm not even uploading it at all and just kind of having some fun. But about a month off since the last attempt at a Wi-Fi league on YouTube, and we are ready to come back and get started. So I have joined the PBAL Season 5. I joined it last season. I didn't actually get to draft my own team, but my predecessor drafted a fantastic one, and we ended up making semifinals. I think that team could have won a championship, so I decided what I was going to do was draft a team that has no reason not to win a championship. I usually like to draft some new stuff, draft some stuff for fun, but I decided this time I'm going to see... I'm not doing that. There's definitely mons on this team I've never drafted before, but there's a number of mons that I have drafted before and mons that I just think pair super well together, and I really want this team to showcase what happens when I can draft a team where I actually think the team is competitively good. Normally, again, I just draft things that I've never used, throw them together, lose for the first 3 weeks, figure out how to make the team work, and then start winning from there. This week, I want to hit the ground running. I want to make this team work. I think this team has a lot of potential. So the best case scenario for that situation where you have a little bit of fire under you and you want to win a championship is if you're handed first pick. So I was, and there's a couple of mons I thought about that might have helped me win a championship, arguably more than the mon you see on your screen right now. So the first option that I was definitely considering was Melmetal. I've never drafted it. It's broken. I want to try it. But there was a couple other mons that I wanted that made Melmetal a good pick, but maybe not the premier pick for me. The thing is, Melmetal does like two things. Now, it does those two things so incredibly well. It either goes with the hard banded double iron bash and kills everything, or it goes with like an acid armor, iron defense, body press subset and kills everything that way. Those are like the two things it does. And don't get me wrong, it does them better than anything else in the format. But that's not my style. My style has never been draft a thing that does only two things and do them every week and see what happens. It's always been draft something that could win every week, but you need to really care about it and give it some time. And before we go any further, I do want to talk a little bit about the format. So this is a free Gigantamax league, meaning Gigantamax mons were tiered similar to Megas before, but there's no Gigantamax first turn. There's no item restrictions. It's literally just at some point during the game, you can Gigantamax this certain mon if you want to. Now, that is something that I don't think I will ever host my own league for, but I was intrigued by it as a concept and decided I was going to go for it with this league. So, we'll talk about my Gigantamax mon later. You had to draft one, again, similar to Megas. If you took a Tier 1 Gigantamax, it cost you a couple free points in the draft. It was still a Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 3, Tier 4, Tier 5, 400 free points. And the Gigantamax, again, we'll talk about that pretty quickly. But so wrapping that all together, I got first pick. And that never happened, first off. So Gen 8, totally new year, totally new era. I've gotten first pick a bunch of times in Gen 8 already. And I decided I didn't want to take G-Darm, which was legal for some reason. Didn't want to take Melmetal, although I really thought about it. Had Deepult last season, loved it, didn't want to take it. Thought about Zeraora, didn't want to take it right now. Decided, you know what? Unrestricted Gen 8 Mew is stupid. Getting spikes and T-spikes, getting Dragon Dance, getting everything. I mean, this thing literally has anything you could ever want. It's got all the hazards, it's got removal, it's got momentum, it's got support, it's got offensive capabilities, it's got like iron defense body press if you want to do that. I don't think the baton pass rules allow this thing to be as good as it could be, since baton pass is dry pass or sub pass only, I believe. You can't stat pass in this league, which is super unfortunate because Mew obviously gets even better if you can. But it can be a screener, it can be removal, it can be, you know, like whatever I need this thing to do on a given week, it can do. And I wanted to facilitate it, not always to need to be a defensive option. So we'll talk about how I managed to do that and way I tried to accomplish that goal throughout this video. But Mew, I wanted to build a team around because I decided Mew is a good enough mon for first pick. It is absolutely stupid in Gen 8. I think it's super fun because I could never run the same set twice and still be successful with it the entire season. So, first pick has, obviously, you get that one Mon. That is the Mon that you want. You get anything you want. You can take whichever Mon it is. And then after that, you have to wait for 2 rounds fully to go through before you even get a second pick. And that's always tough. It's tough to watch Pokemon go by. And there's a Pokemon that I was looking at that I'll talk about in a minute. But before we do that, I want to say I was looking at Gmax Lapras, and it was a tier 2 Gmax. It was, so it wouldn't have cost me any extra points. I would still have my 400 points to play around with. But it got taken because it was just too good for a tier 2 Gmax, and I was so sad about it. But I decided, you know what? Let's grab Gmax Gengar. A little bit of speed ahead of the Mew. Such a good Mon, honestly. Just stupid good, because you can use it in its base form, and it's got really good options there and speed, and you can use it in its Gmax form. And it basically has, you know, it's like Mega Gengar with the Shadow Tag and everything going on. It's basically the same thing with a bigger mouth. And I don't know, I just love what it offers me. And while on some level you may say it doesn't pair well with Mew in terms of weaknesses, I do cover those later on, so I think that's okay. But I just love the way this thing, Mew can just like U-turn into Gengar to spin block. Gives me access to just a really good Gmax Mon, and I just really wanted to use it, and I think it does offer me a lot. Now, of course, I did take 2 Pokemon back to back, and the other Pokemon was Como-O. This is a tier 2 in this league. Yes, you can't use the Omni Boost. I'm not even worried about it. I don't even want to use the Omni Boost. Como-O, I've seen it beat me a number of times now without an Omni Boost, and I am ready to have a full season with it. I drafted in the NWPL and got a billion kills with it in like 2 weeks, and then the league died. I didn't even upload or record stats for my week 3 battle, but I think Como got like 3 or 4 kills that week as well. And I don't actually think I uploaded anything for that league, because week 1 I got a forfeit win, and then week 2 I didn't get to uploading before I battled week 3, and then didn't even edit that one because the league died. So it's unfortunate, but Como-O just kind of like was clearly stupid, and it was a tier 1, and I took it in that league, and I was loving it. And so I'm gonna try it one more time. Let's hopefully not see this league die, because this core at the top is insane. The offensive defensive pressure of this core up top is absolutely insane. Como-O, Mew, and Gengar Gmax are just 3 incredible options with tons of variability in their sets, so many possible ways to run them, everything that I want. And I've got rocks on 2 different Mons, both of whom might not run rocks and might surprise you by running rocks. This thing can just do so much. Throat Spray made it so much better on the special side, but it also has Dragon Dance just like the Mew and can set up on the physical side. Like, this thing is a great Mon, honestly. I mean, who's better to talk about Como-O beating somebody than me? And I don't have to face it this season, which makes it automatically a good season for me, and I get to use it and do Como-O things with it, which is going to be super fun. And it also gave me that knockoff switch and that dark type switch in for the Mew and the Gengar that definitely appreciated having that. I didn't want to leave them out to dry with that. It just gives me such a good Mon in terms of dragon type, in terms of fighting type. Gets great coverage, you know, Iron Head, Poison Jab, you know, whatever it needs. Flash Cannon if you want to run it on the special side. So, like, really solid options for killing fairies that can't just hard switch into it because they have to fear it going for those moves. And, you know, if you really want to just, like, go ham, you know, I've run plenty of, like, sub-select Belly Drum Como-Os that are just a fantastic set. You know, I just love this Mon. Dragon Dance alone is super good. It gets everything it would possibly need to get in order to be a top-tier threat. And it gives me a nice little speed tier, which I was appreciating. So it literally fit this team incredibly well. And when I saw tier 2 Como-O before the draft started, I said that's what I'm taking if it gets back to me in round 2. There's no way I'm not. And if I had gotten the Gmax Lapras, wouldn't have needed to take any free points. Gmax Gengar was a tier 1, so I did have to take 40 free points for that. But imagine these two with those screens coming from the Lapras. Oh my god. And the Lapras being a killer of everything that these two things don't want to face. Oh, it was going to be amazing. It was going to be amazing. It didn't work out that way. That's okay. Because my next round, I was also shocked because nothing got sniped on the way, and I decided to pick up a tier 2 Mandibuzz. Because, again, I needed a Dark type switch in, I needed a Ghost type switch in, I needed a knockoff switch in, I needed more removal would be nice. Something off the ground to take those Earthquakes away from the Gengar. It was like Mandibuzz literally fits so well, and it made it to round 4, which I am blown away by this thing. Gives me so much utility, defensive bulk. It's got U-turn. It could be run. I could run like a weak armor set 1 week with some heat wave, nasty plot shenanigans. Like that's definitely an option because the only thing that really switches into Mandibuzz are things that want to take maybe a dark type hit, and those don't usually appreciate taking like air slashes or heat waves or other coverage moves that it actually does get. So Mandibuzz, yeah, it's going to be run bulky most of the time. That's fine. I'm not too worried about it. It's got boots now, which makes it even better than it was before. And I don't need the offensive pressure because I also managed to pick up a tier 2 Mamoswine right after. So these two mons came back to back as well. I couldn't believe they both made it back to me. Yes, they're both base 80s with Como-O as base 85. I definitely had to consider that as I was moving forward with my draft. But Mandibuzz doesn't usually run speed and Mamoswine does, so they are base 80s, but they still require other people to prep differently for the speed tiers of them. And Mamoswine gives me that priority that I might have been lacking a little bit before this. It gives me Stab Earthquake, it gives me Knockoff, it gives me Iron Head, it gives me Rocks, it gives me such good utility across the board, and it's got Freeze Dry. I mean, Ice types in this gen are stupid. They're so good because there's so many dragons running around, and everything runs a Dracovish counter, and all the Dracovish counters are super weak to Freeze Dry. So like, that's fine. And if your team has Dracovish and it's like running a rain team, which there are a handful of in the league, your Pelipper is also not appreciating that from my Mamoswine. That doesn't switch into my Earthquake very well because I just freeze dry and I kill it. So Mamoswine, I just love the utility that it offers, the question marks that it makes my opponents think about as the game goes along. You can run Life Orb, Band, Focus Sash, you can do all sorts of things with rocks. It's just such a solid mon all the way around, and everyone knows what Mamoswine does, but I could not believe I picked this thing up in round 5. Look at the offensive pressure that this team provides already, and then it gets to the point where I'm like, okay, I've got the offensive pressure down. I've got it on the physical side, the special side. I've got everything. I've got the Gengar, I've got the Mamoswine. Mew and Como-O both do both. I've got some bulk on the Mandibuzz. What I need is speed control. So I picked up Vikavolt on my next go around. I was like, yep, I need webs because this team is not the fastest thing in the world. But giving me more momentum, giving me webs, great coverage, another thing off the ground to take those, again, earthquakes away from the Gengar. Just absolutely something I was totally into, looking for, needed, and found with Vikavolt. And it gives me that slow mode, so like if people are trying to run some Trick Room against me, I do have that option to run like a slow Vikavolt to really counter a Trick Room option, but also gives me agility so it can set up in that way. I don't have to run webs every week depending on the speed tiers of the matchup, so I was super happy I grabbed Vikavolt. And I did want the Gmax Lapras earlier, and I mostly wanted it for screens, so I decided, let's get the best screener in format, a tier 3 Klefki. So these two, again, Vikavolt and Klefki came together, because every time that I pick after the Mew, I'm picking 2 Pokemon at the same time. So I knew what these two were going to be together. It's not like I had to wait or anything. And Klefki, it's like arguably the best screener in the game, and it's tier 3, which is awesome, because that's cheap. And I had slots open, didn't even cost me any free points, since I already took two twos with the free points and the Como-O. And Klefki, give me those screens. Give me those spikes. Yeah, I know Mew has spikes too, but give me an extra spiker. I'm fine with that. Gives me Defog. Gives me Foul Play. Gives me some like Drain and Kiss shenanigans. Gives me Thunder Wave. Gives me all sorts of prankster stuff that I can do with this thing just to facilitate the late game where the other threats are so much more threatening, right? Klefki can take some hits. And yes, one thing this team, you'll notice, is missing as I go along is it doesn't have a Wish Passer. But so far, the only mon that you're looking at that's like, man, it would really appreciate having Wish is probably Klefki. And Klefki is never a win con in any game ever, right? Klefki dying, as long as it's done its job, set up the screens right before it dies, then it's done enough. Because then I can switch into something with the screens up and just go from there and just go ham, because usually that's enough to facilitate any of these 4 or 5 mons that are on the other side of the offensive spectrum. Mamoswine, Gengar, Como-O, Mew, all of those can just abuse screens so much. And so I just wanted to use like a screener, and I figured Klefki, still available and a phenomenal screener. Didn't have a fairy type, didn't have a steel type, gave me both of those options. So, you know, great switch into dragon moves, to grass moves, to bug moves, to everything, you know, like it just switches into a ton of different types super nicely. And I, at this point, was like, what do I not have? I feel like this team, these 7, I can just show up to a match against a team of 11 and make a team that's going to win. So what am I missing? What do I want more of? Momentum would be phenomenal. You know, Mew gets it, Mandibuzz gets it, Vikavolt gets it, but like a little bit more probably wouldn't go remiss. Like I'd be fine with that. A little bit more removal, maybe a spinner. And I don't have a fire type. I don't really have anything to switch to a fire type right now. So I decided with my next couple of picks, I was going to pick up those two things. I was going to pick up Serena as my spinner momentum mon, as a really solid option for that. And then I was going to pick up Rapidash, so I'll just talk about both of them together as my fire type switch in. Speed was also something that I was like, okay, another thing over base 100 would be nice. And so Serena, really solid, I think, in this team. Gives me another Earthquake switch in that maybe not be immune, but it's fine at doing it. Gives me high jump kick for another fighting type option outside of just the Como-O and maybe the Mamoswine spamming superpower. Gives me a Grass Mon, which is awesome. Trop kick giving the attack drop is super nice, super great utility. Gives me a spinner so I don't have to remove my own webs, rocks, spikes, whatever I need if I'm hazard stacking on my opponent. I have that option to have a spinner instead of just straight defog every week. And then Rapidash. Klefki, Serena, Vikavolt. I've got some fire weaknesses. I recognize that. Rapidash, Flash Fire. Done. Don't have to worry about it. Switches in. This thing got surprisingly good when it got Swords Dance. Base 105 speed is nothing to just ignore as you prep for a team. And Wild Charge, Drill Run, Mega Horn, Poison Jab, Flare Blitz, Flame Charge if you really want a little bit more speed to outspeed Scarfers. Like, this thing has options. It can do a lot of work. I'm actually really interested in using it. I've never really used one before, but I think it's actually going to be a pretty solid mon on this team. And just gave me that option for a fire type that was low tier. I didn't have a ton of points left. Right now I'm looking at like, I need a tier 5 and then I need another tier 4 as my like last couple of mons. So, I was like, there's nothing I'm missing. And then, you know, I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, I don't have a water type. So like, what tier 5 water types are there? Oh, Lapras is tier 5, you say? I think this thing is worth taking as far up as tier 3. It is a water absorb mon, so it stops the Dracovish spam. It's got freeze dry, which is amazing. It can run the physical side with the Dragon Dance set and liquidation, all that. It has body press. It has life dew for some recovery if you want it, or if you're facing a rain team, rest hydration is absolutely a set you could run. Although if you're facing a rain team, you probably want the water absorb. But this thing does so much work. It's so good. It comes in so many matchups. It also has the Ice Shard like the Mamoswine, so it gives you a little bit of extra just like chip damage priority in there, which is, again, something my team I think could use. Not that I was like totally out of sorts in terms of priority attacks. Mew's got basically all it would ever need. So, you know, it's not like I was hurting, but I was like, a little bit extra priority might be nice. Gives me a bulky water type, tier 5. Like, that's just such good value. And then on my last pick, I decided to grab Cinccino. Get me over that Gengar speed tier. It was a tier 4 that was a little bit faster. I didn't have a normal type yet. I figured this thing, it's just straight. I mean, it's solid. It's got that U-turn again, another mon like that. It's got all of that skill link stuff, technician stuff, whatever you want to run it. Like, technician fake out's no joke. And it's just a decent solid mon that comes in a low tier, gives me another option for some speed control and speed game. You know, like, do I want to run Scarf? Do I force my opponent to run you know, their base 120 125s as Jolly instead of Adamant? You know, those little things that end up making big differences over the course of games. Cinccino just gives me a little bit more help in that way, and so I decided, you know what, let's grab it. I've never actually drafted Cinccino, so like I said, this team is not one of those teams where you can just like slap and go and it's just easy. But it doesn't mean it's not a very, very solid team, possibly the most solid team across the board that I've drafted. I'm super excited to use it. Battles are starting up like this week. I'm literally recording this the day it's supposed to be uploaded, so you guys check those out. My channel is going to get back to lively because I also have another draft analysis video to record really soon. So I will see you guys all back here very shortly with my other draft analysis video, and hopefully you guys enjoy this season of the PBAL as this team gets some wins. I know this team has the potential to get some wins. It's on me if it doesn't, so I've got to prep well. I've got to take care with it, make these sets as good as they can be because I know we can do it. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys all back here next week as we start our season taking on the owner, founder, commissioner of the PBAL, Aaron, and his Roam Empoleons in an Empoleon versus Empoleon battle for dominance of Empoleons. Thank you all so much for watching. Take care, everybody.